want to go to your past, and you talked about how the things that we talk about, isolation, being alone, working on mind, body, soul, saved you. What did it save you from? Who were you before you became who you are today?
I gotta get ready to answer this one. I loved life as a kid, like I said, but from an early age, I had a light shut down inside me. So I had to use sports and looks and external and superficial things to try to feel better about myself, to fit in. I could party really great, and that was another thing. And I was also unhappy. I didn't grow up with a mother. My father was not a gentleman. He was a womanizer and a good drinker. And it's not that I had like a terrible childhood with physical abuse, but I didn't have the man that I needed in my life. And I certainly didn't have the woman. So it was a weird flux or crux of like, who are these people? What's my role model like? Who do I look up to? Where do I understand gentlemanly things and manners and chivalry from? And a lot of stuff that I was just confused by. So I had to teach myself all of that, number one. But then at the same time, the unhappiness at home is what pushed me to the military,
Mm.
because I was like, this has got to be better than where the frick I'm coming from. And then I get there and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually got here. Home wasn't that bad. But I started learning there that there was more benefit to be had than there was to complain about. And you're talking about making the best of something and being able to learn from adversity, failure, suffering, right? The road to self mastery is paved in suffering.
Yes.
And I didn't know it at the time, but I was laying bricks, dude, like big bricks by what I was going through in life. Mother left at a very young age, big freaking brick.
Yeah.
You're stuck with your father and his adulterous wife that was behind your mother's back for 8 years during their marriage, big brick being laid.
Yeah.
Every person you meet in New Orleans that you grew up with, they think they're your parents, or they think she's your mother, and she's not. And you have to explain that, or you don't explain it, and you just eat it. And then your parents have this facade about them playing perfect couple in front of everybody, and you just take it. Big brick.
Yes.
And the bricks just kept coming because I'd get in trouble. I would do this. I'd get out of trouble. I'd find this. I would slip. I would slide. And so I was laying these bricks. And then I'd get out of the military and I'd lost my identity. I developed this identity as a Marine. I was so proud because I finally had something to me that was tangible and credible that I could hang my hat on and say, I'm so proud to be this, to honor this tradition and these people, and to carry this on to next year's, and to pen my name to something that I believed in truly. And then when I got out, it was gone. And I was like, well, now what am I supposed to do? I don't know. They don't train you for this part.
Right.
And so that's when I started drinking. I started using a lot, and I just wasn't happy and I wasn't whole inside. And that's what kept me kind of searching. And people were like, man, you got this crazy story of jobs and school and all this and that. You've been in so many places. I wasn't doing it because I was happy. I was doing it because I was trying to fucking survive. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I was scared everywhere. I felt like a failure. I felt like a fraud everywhere I went. I'm like excited to get there and think like, oh yeah, I can work at a bar. Perfect. And I did. And I met great friends, had a great time, but just getting blasted, 8 nights a week. And with booze comes pills, and with pills comes drugs, and with drugs and pills and booze comes girls and
Yeah.
things and emotions that are not good for you and for other people. And I became a liability to myself and to others. And you don't even see it while it's
Right.
happening. And then one day your brother, while he's in law school, tells you like, hey man, FYI, Louisiana has a statute that it's a minimum of 10 years if you are caught or arrested with a firearm and a CDS, a controlled dangerous substance. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Cool, man. Thanks. And in my mind, I'm like, shit, I got a handgun and an 8-ball in my Range Rover right now. And I did a lot. I always had a bag, and I was always carrying in New Orleans. And to think about the years that I did that for, dude, 10 years minimum. Could have
Man.
been worse. Because I was drinking and driving a lot. I was under the influence for sure. A lot of times had pills also, and sometimes more than just an 8-ball. So I don't know what the gram amounts were for additional charges, but like, dude, that's like your life is freaking gone, man.
Yeah.
Like you're fucked. And so the writing got thicker and thicker on the wall as I was feeling this way and doing these things. And again, I thought that was cool, man. I thought that's who I'm going to be. I'll make money to compensate for everything. I'm white. I'm affluent. I'm connected politically. Like I can get out of trouble. Like that is the fucking delusion that I had, straight up. And yeah, you don't just wake up like that and you're there. It takes steps, but you are so blinded by your own bullshit and arrogance and just, again, convoluted thoughts that like you can't think clearly. And it took me waking up in an elevator with the doors closing on me at like 7 o'clock in the morning because I've been there all night and thrown up all over myself. Don't remember how I got there, to kind of really say, okay, this could have been worse. And then a couple OD things here and there, and checking into rehabs a few times. And I just finally was like, something's got to give, dude. And when I started to try to get clean the first time, that's when I started to make my way up the mountain, and like as a mountaineer, it's rare that people hit it first go and are perfect. A lot of times it's you're up, you might fall down, the weather might shift, you got to wait, da, 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 da. Well, like I was trying to go up Everest, and like I kept getting blown off the mountain. I kept getting blown off the mountain constantly. And I'd go fall all the way back down. I'm like, oh God, I got to get up and do this again. To your point of the suffering thing, I just kept getting up, man.
Yeah.
You know, like I knew somehow that, again, that conscience congruence and all that bricks that I had laid, all the pavement that I'd put down, they weren't failures. They
Yeah.
might have hurt. They might have hurt a lot of people. They might have hurt me a ton, but they're only failures if you don't learn from them.
Yep.
If you don't learn how to use them, to draw from them as experience, see them as a wealth of knowledge and not regret. Regret is great, don't get me wrong, and it's a great guideline. But if you look at the past and you're just like, oh, I'm so ashamed. Oh, like, I wish I could have been better. Like, well, yeah, we all wish we could have been better, but like, would you be who you are right now if it had not been for that slew of things? I don't think so. And I'm pretty happy with who and how I am right now. Maybe could have saved some gray hair to some people
Yeah.
in my life, including myself. But that's how we learn, man. And if you can't be honest enough with yourself, have enough humility and accountability to say what you did, to, you know, atone for sins or actions or otherwise, like that's the first step in growth for sure. Because it's easy to blame the world. I did. It's easy to use substances and alcohol to self-medicate and step away into the shadows and escape reality. I did a lot. It's easy to get overweight and become just the party life guy that everybody else likes, even though you're unhappy with yourself. I did. Because once you start changing and healing and being different than your group or your social circle, you know, Jim Rohn talking about you're the sum total of 5 people you spend the most time with. I looked around and like I was hanging around a bunch of junkies because I was a junkie. My most frequent contacts were drug dealers and party girls and people that, you know, I'd stay up 3 days with talking about how we're going to change the world. And we never did a fucking thing. You know, it was all BS. And now the sum total of my 5 people are myself, my business partner, a billionaire, several times over multimillionaire, and people that I just only keep for the highest substance because that's who they are, that's what they provide, and that's what I provide back. Why? And why do I have to say the money thing about it? Do you attract success or do you make success? I think success is far more attracted, meaning you don't just wake up and become this wealthy person. You're not Scrooge McDuck and you're in the swimming pool of gold coins just overnight. It finds you. You might have to take the steps to get there and create some things along the way, but like it's going to find you. And like, sure enough, within the last year, like I said, my life has changed radically through the implementation of my process and with life now seeming to reflect upon me what I'm giving out to it.
100%, man. I love that. And I love it's just all those things, all those bricks that were laid, that were challenges, but it was really you building and getting back to that kid that was a ballerina who was authentic to himself and not looking to be validated by others through partying, through drugs, through whatever the case may be. And that's a big story that people can take away from it, is that these challenges were not necessarily struggles. They were like you finding your way back to who you are today. And it's just crazy how you started the podcast like that, right? You being a child, and somehow we've created a really good podcast episode through it. But it's some power there that I hope people can take away from it, that we are all having these challenges, and it's all about the perspective and how you see it.